Hello Slicey Dicers, this is Brian with another little knife video for you. Today, this is an open tag. This is just a video about the unsung heroes of my knife collection. So these are things that, knives that you often carry, but you don't feature on Instagram, you don't do videos about, things like that. So if you're a YouTuber on here, you want to make a video, please just post it up, respond to the tag, let me know that you put it up. I'll make a little playlist of them so we can all enjoy them together. But most of mine are secondary knives that I just forget to mention, but they can be just, maybe it's something that you think is really cool but is too cheap and old and beat up to put on an Instagram photo or make a video about. That's fine too, whatever you want. Just kind of the knives that you don't talk about a lot but you really love. And honestly, we wind up using more often than our main knives, let's be honest. If you've got a cheap secondary in your pocket, it probably gets used maybe not as in much hard use, but it gets used more often than your main knives. So I'm just going to get into it and show some of my, as I said, mostly I'm focusing on smaller secondary knives, but it can be whatever. First up, I do have an assortment of Swiss Army knives. I do really need to get a cadet or a classic. I don't. Most of mine are fairly large, but I have been looking for an ALOX cadet in a color that I like. But mostly I carry these, one of these two. These are both waders is the model. I call them the alcoholic because it's got a corkscrew and a bottle opener on it. It's got other useful tools too. It's got the tweezers and the toothpick, and it's got some screwdrivers and two blades and all that stuff. A pretty cool knife, but it is a bit big. I either carry this one, or the reason why I bought this one is my father gave me this one. So sometimes I carry this. This is from, I believe, sometime in the 80s. I'm not really sure when he got it. It's pretty beat up. It's been sharpened a ton for sure. Sometimes I carry this one, but it's my dad's knife, so you can see he snapped a small bit of the tip off there, as one does. But yeah, this is one of the days I'm missing my dad. Often this will wind up being in my other pocket or the bottom of my pocket or something. Here's one Swiss Army knife I do some days just carry as a primary if I'm just working out in the garage, because I always have other knives out in the garage too if I need something to do really heavy duty. But this has a lot of little tools on it. This is the Super Tinker. I really like it. I did switch these scales out for blue. I don't think you can buy it that way. I bought blue scales on eBay and switched it out because I had cracked the other ones because it went through a washing machine once. But kind of had this for, I don't know, 15 years, maybe 20 years, something like that. It's held up relatively well. I take pretty good care of it. The blades on it aren't too worn at all because I mostly use the other tools. The pliers are getting a little bit worn out, but pretty cool knife. As again, it's got all the cool usual Swiss Army knife stuff and a bit more because it's a Super Tinker. So it's got a lot of extra stuff on it. Next up, an array of small Spydercos. Mostly has been the Rhodey. This is one of 3 or 4 that I've owned in different colors and stuff. Often I would be buying something else and they'd have a deal on a Rhodey and I just throw another Rhodey in the cart, or I was at a shop and buy another Rhodey because I like the color or whatever. But a cool little slip joint, pretty thick blade, and not the best slicer in the world, but it's a tiny little knife. What are you going to do? I decided I wanted to get a little something different. That I sometimes carry this on my keychain, so I was looking for another sometimes keychain knife, and I got this Grasshopper free with another Spyderco that I bought, and I thought this was going to be perfect. A little heavy, but I like the look of it, and the blade is super slicey on it. I really liked that, but it gets beat up really bad if you put it on a keychain, as you can see. So this pretty quickly got removed from keychain duty. I will still carry it a lot though, because I like things to match. So if I'm carrying a titanium knife, I will often carry this in the bottom of my pocket because it's also, you know, metal color. I'm weird like that. I like my stuff to match. But lately, it's mostly been this Man Bug. I really love this thing. I just got it a couple weeks ago, but man, it's a nice knife. I do have a full review of this recorded. I'll put up at some point, but probably a bit overpriced. You know, I always think that about the VG10 plastic Spydercos, but FRN, sorry, Spydercos, but I love it. It's very slicey. I like that it's locking. I put this little split ring on it, and I always leave it on there because sometimes I do clip it to my keys. I always keep an extra tiny little carabiner on my keys, so Occasionally it'll be on my keys, but often it's just in the bottom of my pocket. Very light, but a bit big for my keys. That's the only reason why it doesn't permanently reside on my keys. Next up, an Opinel. This is a number 7 carbon steel. I'm using this one because I force patinaed it and I really like the way it looks. It's usually a number 7 or number 6. A lot of guys carry number 8s. I think those are just a bit big. I've never been that. I have 1 or 2 of them, but they're not my favorites. I like the 6 or 7. Just a really cool knife. Actually, I probably kind of prefer the 6, but my grandpa carried a number 7, so that's why I bought a number 7 first. This is the oldest Opinel I have, I think, which isn't that old. I think I've only had one for a year or so, not that long. But I do love them. I'm getting kind of obsessed with them. They are super cool little knives and just slicey like you wouldn't believe. Great for food prep and stuff. They're just fantastic knives. You can get them in stainless or in the carbon steel. I'm about 50-50, I think, on that. I like the way the carbon winds up looking, but the stainless is nicer if you're doing food prep and stuff. So, and my favorite kitchen knife I have is a number 10 with a corkscrew on it that sits in my kitchen drawer. I use it almost every time I cook. I use that knife. So, very, very cool little knives, but definitely something you don't see much on the Instagrams and things. Next up, we'll do, here's something that's fairly new. I've had this for a little while now, but this is a Black Fox Bean Gen 2. Loving this knife. It's great. I took the pocket clip off on a knife this size. You don't need it. It just sits in the bottom of your pocket, but I was reaching for a liner lock. Knife guy reflexes. Pretty cool little slip joint. One hand open. I really like this little thing. It's great, and they're not bad. 35 bucks, something like that. They're not horribly expensive. Now, conversely, very hard to get a hold of. When they do come available, if you're thinking about one, get it, because they come and go very, very quickly. Serge Panchenko design. It's just pretty neat, and I like the way they do the slip joint. It's just got this little back spring on it instead of your conventional top spring. It's like a double detent. It's awesome. Really, really cool knife. 440C steel, I believe, which is absolutely fine for a knife like this. Now, I guess we'll do this one next. This is a Case mini trapper. I love this. This is the only 2-bladed traditional that I have, but I really like it. It is the chestnut bone. I got this mostly just to have a matching pair with my Case trapper lock, but I wind up carrying it more often than the trapper lock. It's just a beautiful looking little knife. Great if you're going to like a wedding or something like that. I don't need anything more than a traditional at a wedding or a major event. I don't go to mafia weddings very often, so I'm not worried about people getting shot. I don't know anyone in the Yakuza that I'm aware of, so I'm not worried about violence breaking out at a wedding or a funeral or something, so this works perfectly fine for that. It's just a beautiful looking knife. I love the nickel and the brass, and I love that chestnut bone. It's just very, very pretty. Next up, this one is worthy of Instagram photos, and I don't know why I don't do them more often with it, but this is a line steel roundhead. Probably my favorite, like, modern traditional, I guess you could call it. It's not in the ultra modern traditional category. I have other ones maybe I like better than that, this and that category, but you know what? I used to do a lot more traditional videos, and you can kind of blame this knife for why I don't do more of them, of traditional knives and slip joints in this size, because this one is so great that I kind of stopped buying them. I haven't found anything that really made me want to buy another one. I need to probably start doing that more often, but I love this. Is the Picote wood handles, I do believe. Titanium M390 steel, just awesome. And I usually carry it in this slip cover. I wish I'd have gotten a different one. I love the collector knife slip covers, absolutely, and they're cheap, but they make one with a softer leather than this. I believe it's like sheepskin or something like that, and I should have gotten that because I got one of those for my proper and I loved it, but this one's a bit stiff. Unfortunately, this one wouldn't fit in the one that the proper went into, so I wound up having to use this one for it. But really, really just a great knife. It is beautiful, and yeah, everybody should have one of these line steel collector knives. Whether they come in different blade shapes, pick one and buy one. They're awesome. Lastly, this is something a bit more modern and current, I guess you'd say, the Spyderco Lil Native. This is one that I also often just forget because it's in that fifth pocket of my pants, and I just forget that it's there. It's small, but man, it's fun. I often carry it if I know my primary knife is pretty boring. And this is fun to fiddle with because it's compression lock. So it's great. I know they're supposed to be coming out with a slip joint version of this sometime, and you can bet your sweet bippy I'll be on that. But I love the wire clip. Works great, very discreet. This sits all the way down in most of my pants with the fifth pocket. I think I have a pair or two that it doesn't. I'm not recalling which ones it is now, but or which ones they are now. But it mostly sits down there pretty discreet and a nice easy spot just to carry it and forget it, which is what you want with the secondary. You don't want to be even aware that you have it sometimes. So that's it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and I hope a lot of you respond. As I said, this is an open tag. Anybody wants to respond to it, go ahead. Make your own little videos. We'll do a little playlist. We'll sit around late at night when we should be sleeping and or paying attention to our families. And we'll watch videos about the knives that you sometimes just forget to talk about. So, hope you guys had a good time. I've been Brian. Have a good one.